So I just got done watching part 2 of Kevin Smith's Netflix series Masters of the Universe Revelation, and without going too much into spoilers for part 2, which we will cover in a upcoming video, I would like to give mild spoilers for part 1, where I actually tell you that Skeletor actually gained the power of Grayskull, becoming Skelligod. As well as this, Prince Adam met a grisly fate, being impaled through the chest. However, did you know, in both cases, this is not the first time that this has happened. Oh no, in the realm of comic books, this thing happens all the time. And I'm here today to explain to you one of my favourite story arcs within DC Comics, that of course being He-Man vs Thundercats. As a kid, born in the 80s but growing up in the 90s, I was the perfect age for these reruns of what soon would become classic cartoons. And by this time, toys of these franchises were everywhere, both in stores and on the second-hand market. You genuinely couldn't go to a car boot sale, a yard sale, or a flea market without finding this stuff. It truly was a golden age. For me at least, Thundercats and Masters of the Universe has always been together, thrown in my toy box and played with as one set. They just fit together so well. And so finally, after years and years of waiting, DC Comics finally made the connection a reality in their 2016 crossover title, He-Man and Thundercats. This series was spread across 6 parts and was a fabulous read for an old fan such as myself. So with that, let me explain to you what happens in this story, so fair warning, spoilers ahead.
Ancient spirits of evil, transform this decayed form to Mumra, live.
In the series, Mumra once again searches for a way to defeat Lion-O and the Thundercats, and after hearing of a weapon that could stand up against the Sword of Omens, he sets out to gain ultimate power. This weapon of course being He-Man's power sword.
By the power of Grayskull!
Meanwhile, over in Eternia, Adam has once again proven himself unworthy of his position as prince. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a portal to Third Earth appears, tearing through time and space. Back on Third Earth, the Thundercats are equally shocked to see Eternia through a portal. Jaga appears and explains what is going on, and urges Lion-O to use the Sword of Omens to see what is happening. Using the sword, Lion-O casts Sight Beyond Sight, and witnesses the destruction on Eternia. He sees Prince Adam, his father King Randor, and of course Cringer, in terrible trouble and in desperate need of his help. With his father unconscious, we see Prince Adam begin to raise his sword of power, when suddenly he is stopped by the sorceress. She asks him to hand over the sword, which he willingly does, before finally breaking the spell, revealing herself to be none other than Mumra in disguise. Adam is then stabbed through the chest by Mumra, but is able to summon the power of Grayskull just in time to change. The pair fight briefly before Mumra flees with the sword. Mumra then reappears at the Cave of the Elders, however overhears them giving an order to an unknown being, stating that they can do as they wish with both the sword and Mumra should they settle on a deal. Mumra is then blasted into dust, and the unknown figure reveals himself to be Skeletor as he bends down to retrieve the sword. Skeletor returns to Snake Mountain with the helmet and the ashes of Mumra, and is shocked to discover that Mumra is still alive despite his state. We learn a little more about Skeletor's deal with the Elders, and he sets out to work in his lab. Meanwhile, He-Man cares for King Randor, who has just regained consciousness, before the pair are attacked once more. Back at the lab, Skeletor actually confides in Mumra, revealing to him that should he summon the power of Grayskull in his current form, it would simply destroy him with the power being so great. However, Skeletor has a plan, and with that he creates a formula to allow him to absorb Mumra into himself. He lifts the sword and summons the power of Grayskull. With Skeletor now harnessing the power of Grayskull, He-Man now transforms back into Prince Adam and collapses to the floor injured by his chest wound. Of course, Prince Randor now sees who He-Man truly was and is shocked to discover that it is his own son. With Skeletor now in the new position as Master of the Universe, he turns his attention to the Elders, mocking them that there is no possible way that anybody on this planet could stop him. But no sooner had the words left his lips, enter the Thundercats. Does Skeletor have lips? Yeah, A fight ensues, but Skeletor clearly has the upper hand. And it's not until the Thundercats realise that he is bonded with Mumra that they spot a weakness. Lion-O uses Mumra's reflection to ward off Skeletor, who vanishes, leaving the power sword behind. We then see Skeletor and Mumra battle within the one shared body before eventually coming to a truce to share the power. Meanwhile, back at the palace, Prince Adam's body is laid to rest in the chapel as King Randor and Lion-O speak. Suddenly out of nowhere, 4 giant titan-like spirits arrive, controlled by Mumra and Skeletor, and begin destroying the city. Swearing to protect Eternia, Lion-O has an idea as he takes Prince Adam's body, along with Cringer, who didn't want to leave his side, back to Third Earth. They arrive at the Black Pyramid and put both Prince Adam's body and the Sword of Power into Mumra's sarcophagus, hoping it will bring back Adam the same way it does Mumra every time. As Lion-O and Cringer wait within the pyramid, they find many of the other villains looting the treasures within, and so Lion-O uses the Sword of Omens on Cringer, making him a Thundercat. And this is what it's all about. This is epic. This is the best thing within the entire 6-part series, seeing Cringer, Battlecat, one of my all-time favourite characters, becoming a Thundercat. It is so cool. Highly recommend you check this out. Lion-O returns to the sarcophagus and is pleased to discover that it has worked, for He-Man has awakened. However, infused with so much mystical energy, he has gone mad with power. Lion-O and He-Man fight before finally Lion-O uses Sight Beyond Sight to heal him of his madness. The two team up and reunite with Cringer, who is back into his normal form, and the trio head out to save Eternia. A huge battle takes place, much resembling a kid's childhood toy box tipped out onto the floor as all the heroes from both universes combat against the giants. Jaga and the Sorceress head into the castle and open a portal in time and space to Thundera, in the hopes of finding a way to destroy the spirits. Having found a weapon, they return and one by one the spirits fall, until finally Skeletor and Mumra show up, revealing their true plan, to absorb and combine with the spirits, forming as one being, addressing itself as Mummator. He-Man, Lion-O and Cringer, who is now in his Battlecat form, show up onto the battlefield only to find everyone injured and the gates of Castle Grayskull down. Lion-O requests that Battlecat watches over their friends as he and He-Man enter the castle. Deep inside the depths of the castle, they find Mummator sitting on the throne with an imprisoned sorceress at his feet. The pair attack, but they are no match for this godlike being, driving Mummator off a cliff before finally using the castle orb to teleport away. This first teleportation sends them to a Superman-like realm, where Prince Adam / He-Man is very much the Clark Kent Superman type hero. However, Mummator is not too far behind. Fleeing that world and teleporting once again, they end up in another strange universe, this time where all of their comrades are fused together as singular beings. They use the orb once more and find themselves on Thundera at a time before it exploded. It is at this point that Mummator grabs both the sword and the orb and summons his army. Just then, the sorceress, now free from her bonds, arrives and teleports the other fallen heroes to assist the men in battle. During the battle, Lion-O manages to disarm Mummator of the power sword, but it is too late, for he has already activated the orb for total destruction. With no other choice, the pair are forced to combine forces. Knowing it could very well kill them, they use the power of both swords to defeat Mummator.
I love this plan. I'm excited to be a part of it. Let's do it.
The job is definitely not worth $11,500 a year.
The Mummator is defeated, splitting back into the two separate beings, both Skeletor and Mumra, who pretty much flee immediately. The dust settles on the battlefield as Lion-O looks on through the portal at his people, knowing that with one sentence he could save them from total destruction. However, He-Man pulls him aside and warns him that should he do so, too much else would change, pretty much changing all of reality as we know it. Lion-O agrees, and with that the pair head off to help their wounded friends. And so the story ends with the Thundercats leaving Eternia, heading back to Third Earth through the portal in which they came. And yeah, everyone on Eternia now knows who He-Man is. They all know that Prince Adam and He-Man are one in the same. So yeah, as you can see, quite a lot of similarities to the Kevin Smith Netflix series. A lot of things happen that are very similar, both He-Man being stabbed through the chest, Skeletor getting the sword and becoming the new master of the universe. You know, all these things happened within this book first. And like I say, this came out, I think, in 2016. So yeah, quite a long time ago, but albeit a fantastic story. So yeah, I absolutely loved this 6-part series. It really is a joy as a He-Man and Thundercats fan to finally see these two franchises brought together in one story. And I think DC done an amazing job. Now I will say that these books are rather hard to find. However, that being said, it is readily available as a trade paperback. So I highly recommend that you check that out. For me, the greatest thing within this story was seeing Cringer become a Thundercat. I really thought that was awesome, so much so that I'm actually looking to make my own custom action figure as part of my Cringer collection, which I will cover in a later video. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to creating what I believe will be an awesome custom piece. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, poke it right in its little eye, and why not check out this video up here for more He-Man content. And until next time, I'll see you in another life. Take care.